Hello and welcome to the show that's less about chuckling at animal news and more about staring directly into the abyss of American urban decay. That's right, we're talking about the 11 most dangerous cities in the United States, all generously basted in a gravy of Democratic leadership. Now, before you start drafting your angry tweets about how this is all Fox News' fault, let me stop you right there. We're not here to point fingers. Okay, that's a lie. We're absolutely here to point fingers, but at policies, not people. We're going deep into the petri dish of poverty, crime, and yes, let's say it, the kind of corruption that would make Boss Tweed blush. Over the next few minutes, we'll be dissecting the intricate tapestry of socioeconomic factors that have turned these once vibrant metropolises into cautionary tales whispered by terrified suburbanites. We'll examine the numbers, the policies, and the politicians because, frankly, someone has to. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. First up on our whirlwind tour of urban despair is St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis has a rich history, beautiful architecture, and a really impressive arch. Unfortunately, it also has a murder rate higher than some war zones. You're more likely to get stabbed by a Gateway Arch souvenir pen than in most parts of the developed world. Some might say this is just a symptom of poverty, and St. Louis certainly has its share of economic hardship. It's often the byproduct of decades of systemic issues and ineffective leadership. The level of corruption in St. Louis would make a Roman emperor blush. But hey, at least the pigeons downtown are well fed, right? Next, we journey to Baltimore, Maryland, a city once known for its charming harbor and delicious crab cakes, but now better known for its starring role in every season of The Wire. Because, let's be honest, Baltimore has become synonymous with urban decay, a grim testament to the failures of decades of Democratic rule. Now I know what you're thinking, John. You can't blame everything on Democrats. Crime is a complex issue. And you're right, it is. But it's hard to ignore the correlation between Baltimore's skyrocketing murder rate and its unwavering commitment to the same tired policies that have failed time and time again. We're talking about policies that prioritize criminals over victims, that throw money at problems without addressing the root causes, and that seem more concerned with virtue signaling than actually keeping their citizens safe. And don't even get me started on the political scandals. Baltimore makes House of Cards look like a documentary about a particularly well-behaved kindergarten class. We're talking corruption so brazen, so blatant, it's practically performance art at this point. From one city plagued by corruption and violence to another, we arrive in New Orleans, Louisiana, a city that knows how to party, even when facing down a hurricane, a pandemic, and the grim reality of being one of the most dangerous cities in America. The music, the food, the atmosphere of debauchery, it's enough to make you forget, for a moment, that you're more likely to get mugged on Bourbon Street than find a decent po' boy. Beneath the revelry lies a dark undercurrent of crime, poverty, and political corruption that would make Huey Long proud. The murder rate is so high, it's practically a tourist attraction. And let's not forget about the poverty. New Orleans has one of the highest poverty rates in the country. With a failing education system, a lack of economic opportunity, and a government more concerned with itself than its citizens, it's no wonder so many people are struggling to survive. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're headed to the Motor City, a city that once symbolized American industrial might, but now serves as a stark reminder of what happens when corruption and mismanagement are allowed to fester for decades. Once a bustling hub of automobile manufacturing, Detroit has become a cautionary tale of urban decline, its streets littered with abandoned buildings and its population decimated by decades of economic hardship. And let's be clear, this didn't happen overnight. Detroit's downfall is a direct result of the same failed policies we've seen time and time again in Democrat-run cities: high taxes, overregulation, and a blatant disregard for the needs of its citizens. But hey, at least the politicians are doing well, right? From shady land deals to outright embezzlement, Detroit's political elite have turned corruption into an art form, all while the city crumbles around them. It's enough to make you want to trade in your car for a horse and buggy and head for the hills. Next up on our tour of urban dysfunction, we arrive in Cleveland, Ohio, a city that's been called many things. The Forest City, the rock and roll capital of the world, and perhaps most accurately, the mistake on the lake. Now, I know, Cleveland has its charms. There's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Cleveland Orchestra, and, well, that's about it. Because let's be honest, Cleveland is a city struggling to stay afloat, weighed down by crime, poverty, and a political class that seems more concerned with self-preservation than public service. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is higher than the national average, where poverty is rampant, and where corruption is so ingrained in the political system, it's practically a way of life. Hold on to your wallets, folks, because we're headed to Newark, New Jersey, a city with so much potential, it's practically overflowing with it. And yet, despite its prime location, diverse population, and rich history, Newark remains mired in crime, poverty, and the kind of political corruption that would make even the most cynical observer shake their head in disbelief. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is consistently among the highest in the nation, where poverty is a fact of life for far too many residents, and where political scandals erupt with the frequency and predictability of rush hour traffic. Buckle up, buttercups, because we're headed to the Windy City, a city renowned for its architecture, its food, and its uncanny ability to turn a blind eye to rampant corruption and violence. That's right, we're talking about Chicago, Illinois, a city where the political machine is so entrenched, it makes Tammany Hall look like an amateur hour talent show. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is higher than some war zones, where entire neighborhoods live in fear, and where the political elite seem more concerned with maintaining their grip on power than actually addressing the root causes of the city's problems. Next on our dystopian road trip, we find ourselves in Cincinnati, Ohio, a city once known as the Queen City of the West. But let's be honest, these days, Cincinnati is less a queen and more like a distant relative who shows up at your doorstep unannounced, asking for money and reeking of cheap beer. We're talking about a city grappling with a surge in violent crime, where poverty casts a long shadow over entire neighborhoods, and where the political landscape is littered with the wreckage of scandal after scandal. Hold on to your cheesesteaks, folks, because we're headed to the city of brotherly love, where the only thing getting shot more than the Liberty Bell is the city's reputation. That's right, we're talking about Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a city that's gone from the cradle of liberty to the crib of crime faster than you can say Ben Franklin would be rolling in his grave. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is higher than the national average, where poverty is rampant, and where the political class seems more concerned with lining their own pockets than addressing the city's problems. Next up on our whirlwind tour of urban blight, we arrive in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a city known for its beer, its cheese, and its uncanny ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is skyrocketing, where poverty is a persistent problem, and where the political class seems more interested in maintaining the status quo than actually addressing the root causes of the city's problems. Last but not least, we arrive in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a city that was once synonymous with steel, grit, and hard work, but now seems better known for its crumbling infrastructure, its struggling economy, and its uncanny ability to elect officials who wouldn't know a hard day's work if it hit them in the face with a rusty I-beam. We're talking about a city where the murder rate is climbing, where poverty is a persistent problem, and where the political class seems more concerned with consolidating power than actually addressing the city's problems. And there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of 11 American cities grappling with the consequences of decades of failed policies and questionable leadership. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, that was incredibly depressing. Do you have any solutions to offer? And to that, I say, do I look like a policy expert? I'm a comedian who spends his days reading news articles about pigeons that have learned to ride the subway. If you want real solutions, you're going to have to look elsewhere. But in all seriousness, the issues facing these cities are complex and multifaceted, and there's no easy fix. But one thing is clear, continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is not a viable strategy. It's time for a new approach, one that prioritizes accountability, transparency, and most importantly, the needs of the people who call these cities home. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Let us know in the comments what you think about the state of these cities and what can be done to improve them.